What's poppin', everybody? It's your boy BALLINAIN'TEZZY. Welcome back to another banger video. And today for you guys, I'm going to be talking about David Cornswet's new and improved Superman suit. Now, some of you might be wondering, how is this suit new? It's the same thing. Let me correct you. No, it's not. Alright, so Exhibit A, as you can see, you can clearly tell that David Cornswet's hair is a lot longer, which you can clearly tell that they're trying to go for that more classic look with the mullet or whatever in earlier comics of Superman, which was really cool. But not only that, here, you want to see something really cool? Okay, so here is a better look at how, David Cornswet's Superman suit is. And so you can clearly tell, because if there's one thing that DC fans have had to say about David Cornswet's Superman, was about how baggy the suit was. And basically, the collar was weird. The suit was so baggy, it doesn't look like it can't fit him. It looked terrible. You can clearly tell that James Gunn and everybody that worked on that Superman project in DC or whatever, they was basically like, okay, we heard what the fans had to say. So, we're going to make some modifications to the suit so they can, grow, have it grow on them or whatever. And me personally, I like the suit regardless or whatever. Now, do I think that they should have made the suit a little bit tighter? Yeah, obviously, because when it comes to Superman, his comic book character, and in real life, the suit is supposed to fit him perfectly, and supposed to show off that good physique about Superman. And look, that's what they did to that's what they did to this David Cornswet Superman. As you can see, look at the arms. The logo looks a little bit bigger, and honestly, sometimes it kind of feels like it symbolizes his growth as Superman. Even though that when Superman, I'm just gonna call it Superman Legacy. That way we know. I call it Superman Legacy, so that way when people know which Superman I'm talking about, I'll just talk about Superman Legacy instead of being David Cornswet Superman or whatever. That's why I just call it, because that's what originally the movie was titled. Then they changed it to Superman, I'm still calling it Superman Legacy. So with that being said, Superman Legacy, when it came out, which was last year? Yeah, last year. Basically, they said, well, no, this isn't him starting off as Superman. He's been Superman for about a year, but hey, as my mom would say, there's always room for improvement on whatever it is that you do in life. When it comes to Superman, there's always room for improvement on being a better superhero. That's every superhero in general, right? So, I feel like this logo is, the logo is a little bit bigger, and you can clearly tell that the lines in the Superman suit, they're not as thick as it looked in the first version of the suit. And if anything, this was one of the things that fans basically had to say about his Superman in general. Not only that, but it's just basically they were whining about how much they missed Henry Cavill's Superman. And if not that, this was one thing that I most definitely was worried about when it came to Snyder releasing the Snyderverse. Because let me tell you something really quick. This is not how Superman is supposed to be. It's a pretty decent suit. The suit was pretty good. But this is not how Superman is supposed to be. This is not how Superman is supposed to be. This is not how the suit is supposed to look. The texture of it and everything was great, and it had that Kryptonian definition of it all. Yeah, fine, I understand that part. But we all know that they could have made the suit because I was watching a whole bunch of YouTubers giving their honest thoughts about how the Superman, David Cornswet's Superman suit looked like for Superman Legacy or whatever. When they were talking about this suit looks baggy or whatever, they were always referring to how this suit destroys. They literally was talking about how this suit is so much better than David Cornswet's Superman suit. They were always talking about how this suit was so much better. It was either that or some other. It was either that or Tyler Hoechlin's Superman suit, or Brandon Routh's suit, or Christopher Reeve's Superman suit. R.I.P. to Christopher Reeve. But let me make something very clear. They're always hey, they could have made the Superman suit look comic accurate and make it look more tight and more form fitting. That's what they did for Man of Tomorrow or whatever. You know what I'm saying? When you guys say that, they could have made this Superman suit look like this. Same as to how fans were always like, hey, they could have made David Corn's wet Superman suit look like, more form fitting, or make it look like, well, basically how they want it to be. They could have made Man of Steel suit look like this suit. I promise you, if they made the suit look like this, which this is a really good edit, by the way. If they made this suit look like this, if Zack Snyder and DC made the suit look like this, I promise you, this would be my number one favorite Superman suit of all time. Of all time. Easy. Like, this is, like, they made it just amazes me it just amazes me on how us fans makes the stories and make suits and everything look a lot better or whatever. Because Zack Snyder always talked about, listen, Zack Snyder, I'm not dissing, I'm not throwing any shade. You had a vision for the DC universe, and I respect that. And you were getting it out there. I respect you for that. You know what I'm saying? But this is just me giving my honest opinion. But I do not hate this. This is not me saying, like, I don't hate you. I respect your work and everything. But either way, when it came to, like, this version of, like, superhero suits, I remember Zack Snyder saying that he could have made the trunks work. He tried to make the trunks work. He looked through, I don't know how many versions of the trunks on the Superman suit from comics and everything. He said that he tried to make it work, but it just didn't. Look at this edit right here. Look, just look at the suit. Like, it just, I sometimes do kind of get a little bit irritated on the fact of how, like, this is what we could have gotten, but we didn't get anyway. Why? Because they wanted to ground Superman, and they wanted to make him more realistic, and they just wanted to ground him and just put him in a more realistic world setting. And, it really just doesn't work for DC. It works for Marvel, but it just doesn't work for DC. Because when it comes to DC, it is like, the world that they live in, it is not realistic. Central City, Metropolis, Gotham City, and all that, and, like, it's not real. New York City and San Francisco, New York, San Francisco, and all that stuff in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and in Marvel, that's more realistic. So it's like, if you wanted to ground a certain type of superhero, you can. But when it comes to the superheroes in the DC Universe, grounding them is it does not really work. And also, it had a lot to do with the Dark Knight trilogy. Because the Dark Knight trilogy, it was an amazing trilogy in the history of all superhero trilogy films in general. After the Dark Knight trilogy, film wrapped, other superhero films decided to go along with it. Fantastic Four, The Amazing Spider-Man, and then Man of Steel, and, that's when they all wanted to do these dark theme type of films, and that's when it came to the superhero suits and the superheroes in general. And need I remind you, this is not how Superman is supposed to be, okay? He's not supposed to be this acting godlike figure that is consistently aura forming every chance that he got, and just always looking so depressed and being like, I don't know what to do. Like, he just, like, that's not how Superman is supposed to be. This is how Superman is supposed to be. If we want to talk about how Superman is supposed to be, this is how Superman is supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Being like, it is not classic. It's not classic. Listen, yes, it is classic. I don't know what you're talking about. The Superman suit and the trunks and everything have been, a part of Superman for a very long time. How Christopher Reeve Superman was, again, rest in peace to Christopher Reeves. I'm sending my regards to Christopher Reeve and his family. I love everyone. How Christopher Reeve Superman was, that is how Superman is supposed to be. A hopeful, giving Superman. Let's be honest, this is something that you guys need to ask yourselves. Did you guys feel hope when you guys went to go see Man of Steel back in, 2013 this film came out? I don't remember, it was a long time ago. But did you guys feel hopeful when you went to go see the Man of Steel movie? Okay. Did you guys feel hopeful when you went to go see Superman Legacy last year? Because that's how the character is. That's how the character of Superman was created. He was supposed to be this hopeful, giving superhero. He wasn't supposed to be ore forming. He no matter what, Superman would not once break his kill rule. His no kill rule. You know what I'm saying? Man of Steel did. Henry Cavill did. He was always ore forming. Like, even when they were showing, like, there was this montage in Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice, basically where the world was just hating on Superman and being like, should he be held accountable, or should we just let this man with all these godlike abilities just roam free around the earth and let him do whatever he wants? We saw these montages, and then there was this one scene, if not the one scene, multiple scenes throughout the entire film. There was there was a fire and they saved him from a burning building, and everybody was just putting his hands over, Henry Cavill's Superman, or for a moment, duh. And then there was this big flood where this family was literally standing on the top of their house. They had Superman's symbol painted on top of them, almost as if they were trying to wait for their Lord and Savior Jesus Christ to come save them. That's basically what they were doing in the film. The mom walks towards, walks a little bit closer to the to the edge of her house. She reaches her hand up to the sky, and who appears in the sun with the sun behind them and the cape flapping? Woo! With the cape flapping and everything from the sun. It's Superman. Another aura forming moment. That's not how Superman's supposed to be captured. Superman is supposed to be saving cats from trees. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm just kidding. But that's not how Superman is supposed to be. Superman is supposed to be like the superhero that, save his cats from trees. He's supposed to be smiling. He's supposed to some people think it's like weird where it's Superman is supposed to be cuddly and supposed to hug children and all that type of stuff. But it's just that's how Superman is supposed to be. Superman isn't supposed to be this depressed, mopey looking type of superhero or whatever. Now listen, Henry Cavill, you were an amazing Superman. It was the way that your version of Superman was written that I just can't get by sometimes. That's just my honest opinion in general. You were an amazing Superman. Again, it's the way your version of the character of Superman was written that I sometimes just can't get aside, because when Superman was originally created to be how Christopher Reeve Superman was supposed to be, besides the whole clumsy part of it all, no, that was all Christopher Reeve, which he did an amazing job at. But when it came to Superman and all that, how Christopher Reeve was in the films, that's how Superman's supposed to be. When I went to go see Man of Steel or whatever, I was just like, well, I mean, it's one of the things that I say. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. That's just my honest opinion in general. And it's just that's one of the things that always worried me when it came to when Man of Steel released, because it was just after Dark Knight happened, all the other superhero films wanted to do dark theme type of projects or whatever because of how good the Dark Knight trilogy was. Basically, movie companies were just like, well, hey, if we did the same thing with these superheroes that we have, then I'm pretty sure we'll make $1 billion in the box office as well. That's basically what they did. They tried. Some worked, some missed. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it's just it's the way that it's just the way that these characters were created, that you guys do not need to try making some little modifications to add to or whatever, and trying to make them more dark and gritty. You should not have done. No one should have ever. They should not have done that with Superman. They shouldn't have done that with the Amazing Spider-Man. They most definitely shouldn't have done that with the Fantastic Four. But they did anyway, and some failed, and some failed, some were successful. And you know what? Congratulations to those that did. Congratulations to those that made the film work. And maybe next year to those that didn't work. But other than that, when it came to this Superman, I just honestly have no words. This was really Superman or whatever. I mean, and if anything, Tyler Hoechlin, Superman, he is, no disrespect, Christopher Reeve, forgive me. Tyler Hoechlin is still ranked on my number one list as my favorite person to portray the role of Superman of all time. He's number one of all time. He's my favorite version of Superman or whatever, and it's, he's just, 10 out of 10 superhero and all that. But back to David Cornswell's Superman, though. The suit looks amazing, but me personally, if they were on some stuff where they was if they wanted to do a logo change, I would be completely okay with it, because this version of David Cornswell's Superman or whatever, his parents or whatever are, they're bad guys, because they wanted him, instead of being the superhero that protects the world, his parents wanted Kal-El to rule the world. They said that, they made that very clear in the last film. So if they wanted, if Kal-El, Superman, if Kal-El, David Cornswell's Superman, wanted to step away from that because he made it perfectly clear that, well, listen, despite what my parents said about me ruling the world, that's not what I want to do. I don't want to rule the world. I want to protect it. So here he is, still in all of his glory, being the Superman that we all know and love. And so when it comes to stuff like that, it's like if he wanted to step out of his parent, try and step away from that and try and build his own legacy. See what I did there? As Superman, if he wanted to change the logo, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I promise you, I would not give any review. If anything, if I were to leave a review about this, it would be a positive one instead of me just being negative, being like, no, why would they change the suit? Like, why would they change the symbol? That's ridiculous. No, I would be okay with it because, if he wanted to, have his own symbol or whatever and, be his own hero, I would be okay with that. Like, honestly. This was just a quick edit that I was able to find. But it's if they made the symbol of the suit look something like Max Fleischer's Superman. I like Max Fleischer's Superman. That was my childhood or whatever. That's one of the cartoons I watched while growing up as a kid. If they were to make the symbol look something like that, I would not have a problem with it. This is honestly, yeah. If they were to make it look something like that, it's fine. But honestly, it's just again, this suit is amazing. Look, this is the suit that we had last year. And this is the suit that we have right now. Same, like I said, you can clearly tell that James Gunn, which is what people need to be doing in general on a consistent, daily, regular basis when they're making superhero films. Because again, not only they're making it to make money for their company, but they're making it to entertain us. And the only way for movie companies to make a lot of money for their company is to make the film so good that us fans are willing to spend our money, our hard-earned money, to go see an amazing film like that. So it's just listening, when it came to listening to the fans or whatever and giving us a better suit, you know what I'm saying? This is what we got. This is what we got. Fans were complaining about the suit. Well, listen, you talking about how it was not fitting them well and how baggy it was and how loose and everything it was. Well, hey, here you guys go. Is there anything else we're going to complain about? Yeah, I'm pretty sure there will be. But you know what? It's okay. Because at the end of the day, James Gunn, keep your head up. This version of Superman is amazing because I am putting David Cornswell's Superman is second on my list. And the third is Christopher Reeve. No, Tyler Hoechlin is 1. Christopher Reeve is 2. David Cornswell is 3rd. Come on, it's Tyler Hoechlin and freaking Christopher Reeve. I don't know how much more I need to say. But other than that, that's pretty much all I got for this video. And make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe. Turn that notification bell if you have not, so you guys do not miss out on any of my videos. It has been one of the things I've been wanting to get off my chest a lot recently. This has been your boy BALLINAIN'TEZZY giving his honest thoughts and reviews about the new Superman of tomorrow. I'm really excited for this film. And, well, I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure you guys like and follow for more.